Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of Magic the Gathering Arena. Today is Friday, March 13th. We're doing an early stream. The bands have come in and things have changed. Let's go ahead and swap this out. So, Historic and Brawl Bound announcement happened, and you were supposed to get some wild cards based on things that were banned. I'm fairly certain that if I had any of the cards that were banned, they had already been banned before. So it didn't seem like it really rewarded me with any wild cards. It definitely didn't pop up that announcement. They've also introduced direct messaging, and for a limited time, you can earn quest progress when challenging your friends. So we can kind of look at that. Let's see. We've got one person who's offline right now on the friends list, which the friends list was only a couple months old anyways, and at the looks of it, it doesn't seem like we have any way of direct messaging people that are offline, so it doesn't seem like there's any saving of that. Nor when you look at this advertisement does it look particularly good, because this kind of implies that the direct messaging is just going to pop up in this general vicinity, right on top of the screen, where you would much more expect it to be somewhere kind of in the middle here. That's the only place when playing a game of Magic that even slightly has some empty space, and I'm using that already with the overlay. Historic Anthology 2 is available, and they're promoting purchasing basically individual cards at a high price. And they've changed the color challenges. So, instead of the original setup that started with the little sprite character, they've now brought it down to a system where you can play against each of you can play each character to start with. There probably is maybe some more tutorial stuff if we were to look here.
Good to see you again.
Let's see. Yeah, we probably would want to just have to replay the whole tutorial. Do we want to do that? I think it might be interesting. I've been playing for a while. So you can get the Historic Anthology bundle right now for 2,500, or you can still purchase for 2,000 gold the Historic Anthology cards for 2,000. Which honestly, 2,000 is probably not too terrible when you can't really look at all of these cards easily. You can just kind of hover over them, but you can't right click them and make them even larger. I'm just not certain really if I'm gonna play enough Magic Arena before the second dinner Marvel card game comes out that it would make sense for me to have these old cards. But I also am in a weird position where it doesn't really make a lot of sense for me to sit on so much gold, because I really only need like 30 packs in the next expansion. They also have a new character and new skins and new sleeves. These are unsanctioned basic lands, which these look even nicer than the Nyx lands that I purchased, but I'm not going to go down that path over and over again and just buy fancy land skins. The daily deal, let's see, we've got one for 83% off, and then the rest of the deals are barely discounted. But I guess if you were just rolling in gold and really wanted these, there's something to that. Yeah, I'm gonna have to decide fairly quickly whether I want to spend 20,000 to get all these cards, or whether there's something better to do with the gold. This is weird. Hidden Squirrel lands. Why? These are just basic lands. Why would anybody pay 3,500 gold to have basic land forest with just a slightly different icon on it? I mean, the art even here looks pretty basic, so I don't understand the point there. That's a crazy offering. Speaking of crazy offerings, let's look at our daily quest. Blue, green, and white. There is in Paper Magic right now. Let's just do the tutorial. We're gonna do
Good
everything
to see you again.
basically as much as we can from the beginning, and we'll see how fast this happens and what's really changed.
Wake up. Wake up.
We get this little sprite.
Looks like you barely survived your last battle.
We get no reference
training,
ever.
You'll become a force to be reckoned with.
Like, you
Let's
just
get
don't
started.
know anything about this character. Of course, why would you? So it's pretty fast to jump you into a character.
The Elves of Llanowar
And
are
then we
impressive
have
warriors.
a
Good. You don't have enough lands to cast anything yet. So that's all you can do right now.
we have a character here that we can't do anything with, and it ended the turn for me.
Play another land so you can summon a creature.
Yep. Then it shows a little animation, which doesn't fully make sense, because most people are going to just play this by default and
You can
drag the
summon
card
creatures to
forward
fight for you.
and have it auto pay for you, not tap the cards. Like, so far in my 3 or 4 months of playing Magic Arena, I have not really seen any really great reason why you need full control in the tap. And you can see this is moving this way.
Only one of your creatures is ready to attack.
The summoning sickness is still not very nicely animated. The problem with the summoning sickness animation is it should probably just be over the entirety of the card, including the borders, and it should probably be maybe even a little bit over the edge of the border. It could probably be a little bit lighter than what it seems like. And there I did try to tap the cards to summon.
Pay for that.
You can't say anything, and you have a skin here you just can't use, and you have a character you're never going to fight again.
Their details.
Almost certainly. You would think both of these animated sections would be better if they showed up as bots during the drafts.
Keep pressing the attack.
What's this
You've
animation?
been blocked.
I have no idea what this animation is. I've never seen it since then. Then you have a whole animation here that you never see. This wouldn't be a terrible animation to do if you wanted to leave it on.
Ah, admirable. Pity I have to crush you.
Now, after this initial tutorial, if I recall correctly,
That's a big problem. That beast will destroy your creatures if you attack now.
Like, after this
shown
first
spirit,
game,
but I
I
will show
think
you
then we
strength.
were put through a duelist style scenario where we had to fight multiple other characters in a linear path. That
Stand your ground. One of your creatures can block it.
And I guess it doesn't really matter which one blocks it. So I'm assuming here that what's going to happen
while it's still recovering.
Oh, you're not making this easy.
This is practically a full game, even though they started you with less health.
We've got you cornered.
Cast the spell. Clear a path to finish her.
It's slightly interesting that you start with a white character.
Well fought, outsider.
So I imagine this is the only tutorial level that you have to play now as a new player. And now we're going to see some new content. Nope. We've got another opponent that we never see again. Interesting. And is any of this doing anything for my daily quests? Doesn't seem like it probably is. Which I'm not super surprised about that.
Yes, first blood.
But that is a little weird.
Don't worry, these things are basically harmless.
I don't even think I've seen this card. What?
Okay, maybe worry
What is
just
this?
a little bit.
This is like an alpha card? Is that what that symbol means?
Second blood.
Or is that just this is a card that doesn't really
You
exist?
need to mount a defense.
So yeah, in Paper Magic they have this mystery booster packs that are reprints of old cards, I think going all the way back to Alpha. So they've thought of some cards that won't ruin the meta in any current gameplay style that are good. So they're good, but they're also not going to be something like Black Lotus that eventually was banned. But what it weirdly does is the one thing that I have said I really wanted to see Magic and Wizards of the Coast do, is it reprints really old cards that would have been really expensive, and eventually it's going to lower the price of a lot of older cards and try and like there might be a deceptive reasoning for this, but it seems like they're going to try and destroy the collector mentality of Magic the Gathering in favor of having people focus all their money on like purchasing new cards. Because in all fairness, Wizards of the Coast doesn't make any money if people are just trading and selling old alpha cards and playing in home games. On the other hand, it gives them a great opportunity to reprint old cards and not have to just reskin old cards and make new versions of it. And these mystery boosters are not expensive by Magic standards. They're very cheap. So it's kind of everything you wanted. There was
He'd be a fool to attack you now.
there are some different ways based on what you're going to get when you open a mystery booster. So you're kind of guaranteed like one foil, but instead of that foil there was a convention booster version that was giving test cards that wouldn't have been legal in play anyways, and they shifted that out for just foils. The idea of Magic reprinting cards and not even like reprinting them and saying this is the core 2020 version of that card, thus the original version maintains its value, just literally reprinting the same symbol and everything so it's indistinguishable, is very appealing to me. But in fairness, it's probably hugely not appealing to anybody who has been thinking that Magic the Gathering was going to be their nest egg and that they were going to retire off of the profits of their Magic card collection.
It's time to bring the pain.
The fact that you see this pretty much means you should get out of the business.
This is going
If you
to
were
hurt.
collecting, if you were collecting Magic cards as a way of funding retirement, well, I think I can pretty much win here.
It's the pokey bits that hurt the most.
So, yeah, you probably saw at that point, I don't know if I'm really unlocking these cards a second time or not. What is this symbol though? Seems like these are what the basic cards are going to be. And so we may just have a
You're a quick
completely
learner.
different
So
deck.
let's try a more challenging lesson. Follow me to Ixalan. There's a mystic there who spent his life studying the nuances of combat.
So it is still a linear challenge in the tutorial mode. It's just you get to play with whatever cards you want to play with. And this says 8 cards unlocked. Where? Complete the tutorial to unlock 5 decks. Okay. We've unlocked 2 of them. And I guess we're playing with the white deck now. But we've been playing with the white deck. Yeah, that still seems weird. Like you would think that they would...
He might look like any other merfolk, but his knowledge is boundless. Stay patient and keep an open mind.
Feels like they should change the deck on you every game.
I will teach you.
Instead of having you just have a growing familiarity with these very basic white cards.
Birds fly freely, unfettered by earthly bonds.
But yeah, the first mystery
Everything
pack
is
when
connected. You must
Wizards of the
understand
Coast
the
started
air,
to
land, and sea.
started to sell cards close to individually, and the removal of the
That bird can fly over any blockers on the ground.
auras. I don't know if the tutorial actually mentioned auras originally. But yeah, once they stopped listing a suggested MSRP manufacturer
You've been paying
suggested
attention.
retail price, once interesting, they're telling me to attack. I wouldn't attack. I would have waited and blocked and taken him out. But whatever.
Obstacles may block your path, but do not lose sight of your true goal.
Yeah, but once they got rid of
Is
MSRP,
Crab wearing
that was
a
another
pirate hat?
another indicator that the days of treating Magic the Gathering cards like they are stocks at a stock exchange are over. And in the long run, I still think that is going to be the thing that brings the next generation of Magic players in, is getting rid of a lot of the history, getting rid of the expense. Kids don't have money. There's an IHOP commercial that kind of puts that directly.
Keep going. He's running out of cards.
The idea that you would need between $70 to $200 to have a single deck. Interesting. What does this do? Nothing, I guess. So yeah, the Mystery Booster, I would recommend it to anybody that wants to play paper Magic. It opens up
Wow.
something
That sounds
really great for people trying to get into Magic now that you can buy these booster packs, open them up, get great cards from all across the history. That's going to help give you the cards that you would need to play in Pioneer, give you the cards that you would need to play in Standard or Traditional or basically anything, since it's cards from every expansion. It's going to show you some great old cards instead of forgetting history and wasting history. It's effectively the closest thing to rebooting the entirety of Magic the Gathering without actually just rebooting the entirety of Magic the Gathering, which you could have done that, certainly.
So majestic.
Alright. Well, this feels like I was supposed to just keep on buffing up this one card.
It was fun while it lasted.
So yeah, the only real problem with the mystery booster packs is there's no equivalent in Magic Arena, and also playing the Magic Arena boosters are not going to they're not going to
almost ready to take on anyone,
give
including
you
whoever roughed you up in the first place.
Magic Arena codes for
your
cards,
last lesson,
since
let's
those
head to
cards
Tarkir
don't
to learn the
exist
art of
in Arena
surprise.
at the moment. And one would assume, I guess I just have to assume, that the reason why the mystery boosters are coming out now is because they want Pioneer to be the new thing. They want to kill Standard somewhat,
Watch
or
her every
traditional.
move and be ready for anything.
I don't think they'll probably ever kill Standard, because Standard is always evolving to the last few expansions. But killing Traditional and replacing it with Pioneer, I think, is their goal.
Go on, attack me.
It could also be that the mystery boosters are, well, it could also be that I'm just overhyped about them, but they totally sound like what I would want. Almost to the point, if I was going to actually
This is my favorite.
play Magic, Paper Magic in particular, for a long time, I would be buying mystery boosters right now. Of course, right now is not a great time for anybody to buy anything, but
Don't let her get under
it
your
would
skin.
be. It's the best deal I've seen
Your
in Magic
move.
since I got back to playing Magic a few months ago, kind of at the start of the year. It could also be that the expansion Theros Beyond Death just was so bad, which it does seem like it was very poorly received, so maybe the mystery booster was the backup plan in case any expansion happens, and that's why they've put it out at this time. I would suspect that's not really the case, though. Was this an instant? No, that was a enchantment aura. What's funny about this card is this is like teaching about flash cards, and the flash ability is not really even
Aw,
used
we don't
that
even get a
often.
hit in.
Yeah, we did.
I've been waiting for this.
That color commentary, I think, was totally wrong.
Careful. You can't afford to take another hit like that.
Okay. This one can't block, so I'm gonna do no attacks.
Block first. Then it's time for some trickery of your own.
And then we're gonna play the instant. And this is kind of the worst part of blocking and then casting instances.
Ooh, very clever.
It doesn't give you but that one opportunity.
You've fallen right into my trap.
Get ready.
This is very, very basic tutorial stuff. It probably isn't worth revisiting. Particularly since I don't think I'm really unlocking a new deck or
really.
anything like that.
I'm at your mercy.
Let's see. So, you're gonna do all attack because you kind of have to.
Well, looks like you've let your guard down.
She has like way more cards than she would have had legally.
Hurry! Make some
Like
blockers.
1, 2, 3, 4. There's nothing here on this card that says you can have as many as you want. Since I think these are kind of just basic made-up cards, it's weird that there isn't something like that.
Ugh, why
that they're
won't you
using
die?
instead.
Now you've got her.
Interesting, it's telling me I have to enchant this creature even though she has no cards and I would win anyways.
I'll be in touch.
It's nice that none of the other like bots you're fighting or anything like that in Magic are as basic as this is, because this is super tutorial-y.
Nice job. That was some quick thinking.
Now,
When we first met, you looked within an inch of your life. But
this
now
last
you're
guy is
unstoppable.
that Bolus
Who were
Dragon
you
God
fighting in the
character
first place, anyway?
originally, so it seems like they didn't change that.
Nicole Bolas. After I annihilated you, I really didn't expect to see you again.
What? This is a terrible idea. There's no way you're prepared for this guy.
There's no way you're prepared for this guy, but you have to click play to play, so yeah. And in a weird
I'll
way,
make a
since
deal
he's
with
supposed
you,
to be
Planeswalker.
a dragon god,
Defeat me, and I'll let you go.
he's kind of easy to be defeated.
Lose, and you will serve me for eternity.
Fight as if your life depended on it.
It would be funny if you actually lost this and just could not win,
Sometimes
and
you
then the
need to make a
daily
tough
quest
decision.
war coming directly from Nico Bolas.
Did he just throw away a dragon?
You look surprised. I do as I choose with what is mine, and it is all mine.
So
Everything here exists or
what's
perishes
this?
at my
Oh, that's
whim.
just an animation. That shouldn't be there. I'm glad this table doesn't show up in regular play.
Power is the only thing that matters. There is nothing else.
Yeah. The next expansion for Magic should be a Core 2021. And with the way the economy looks these days, it doesn't feel like there's
stand in the way of what I
there's
seek. Not
likely to be a
even
lot of
death.
extra sales on that expansion either. So unless they just decided to get rid of the core series of expansions, which ending on 20 would be kind of fine by I think most people. Core 2021 will be in a weird position because it's not even going to be as well received as the mystery boosters that are happening.
Enough of this.
So, and yeah, for me personally, I guess I'm not gonna spend a lot of extra gold and a lot of extra effort to buy Core 2021 cards. I'll probably try to get a decent collection of them, since they will be reprints of cards that are somewhat useful. But I don't expect a lot there. This is gonna be funny if I actually lose, because I don't feel like there's been too much I can change.
My triumph is at hand. Watch these.
We just might be able to pull this off.
No matter.
So they set up a
Soon
whole
there'll be
scenario
nothing left
there
of you either.
to speed me into having more characters on the field, which seems like I have quite a few Shrine Keepers
Hey!
in my deck also.
All succumb
How many
to
do we have in
Bolas.
total? Let's see. Seems like we only have like 32 cards in our deck to start with.
Hold
Far
back,
from the
so
60.
you can prepare for his attack.
What? I've underestimated you.
So this guy is winning the day. Do I want to kill the guy? I guess I could have killed the guy that way. Wish I could undo my move at the moment. But I guess we'll pass.
Such impudence!
Yep. Seems now that we have this flying vigilance
An angel.
creature.
Do you really think a mere angel will stop me? My power is beyond that of a god.
Let's see. This only gives you a card if it has 2 or less. So I should just attack with that one. Feel like I had an opportunity to do a couple extra damage there that were... This is an instant, right? But I then chose not to block that, which that was dumb.
Admit defeat.
I recall
We've come
When
this far,
we-
don't give up now.
did this the last time. Let's see. I think I did lose. So yeah, I don't think I want to attack right now because, well, yeah, 4, 8, 9.
My patience is wearing thin. Let's finish it.
Alright, let's do this right. I wanna do this blocking this, and this blocking this, and this blocking this. Does that matter? Am I doing this the right way? And then do that. So that kills that. And then do that. So that kills that.
This is it.
Gain 4 life. And then I can just straight up attack. What's funny is they say this is it, but I've played so differently that it really isn't it. Just block that. I wouldn't be surprised if the remaining 17 cards are just land. And so that's the first game in the tutorial you have to actually play. And even though I had particularly few cards and few variety and no strategy there, that worked fairly well.
That dragon better think twice before he tries messing with you again.
So that seems to me like it did just unlock the default decks all over again, with some cards that are now being labeled as with a symbol that we're gonna have to try and figure out what that symbol means. If it's supposed to be an alpha or if it's just supposed to be an arena card. Probably means arena with A, and that did no progress whatsoever as far as daily quests. So let's come down here. Yep. I had renamed all of these cards default, and then I had rebuilt them as like version 1.1. By the way, this mill deck, I edited this. I was trying for a blue and black deck, and it turned out that all the blue cards had you draw a card then discard a card. No, a lot of them, well, a lot of the blue cards either have you as the player draw a card or discard a card, or they have you pick a player who puts cards from the top of the library into the graveyard. The black cards that I was trying to integrate with that strategy required for your opponent to draw a card, and there seems to be no blue cards in my collection that work that way, so that concept failed. But what does seem to work somewhat is the Nadir Kraken. When you draw a card, you can pay 1 mana and you get a +1/+1 counter and create a 1/1 blue tentacle creature token. So I rebuilt my deck around that idea of drawing cards and creating tentacles and potentially milling yourself for a victory. Let's go back and look at this deck here. This symbol must mean arena. It must just mean that. And we can now see in the expansions list here, there's no listing of the old cards at all. How can that be? Probably because this is set as a standard deck. Let's see what happens if we apply styles. Changes 2 cards. Let's go to the collection and see if we can still see these cards. Yeah, we can. So, yeah, there's this whole collection of the first year of Magic Arena that I think you can play in Historic, and then Historic Anthology 1 and 2. It's a little weird that they're splitting that up. And then we have Ravnica, Ravnica Allegiance, War of the Spark, and Core 2020, with the thought that I think when Core Set 2021 comes out, I'm thinking all 4 of these expansions then leave Standard. But yeah, there is no indicator of a card that's not in this category. And if we look at the Historic Anthology cards, they have symbols that are definitely from other expansions that have not come out in Magic. So yeah, I guess that's what that means. Is I guess the new A symbol doesn't stand for alpha. We have 3 hours, by the way, for this to end, and I'm not going to play this again. I'm hoping we'll get another draft immediately, and this starts in 3 hours, which this would be cards from Historic Anthology 2, but just skins are what you win, so there's nothing there of interest. Let's go back. Well, let's actually look at other play modes. Traditional draft. Where see if anything's changed here. We have Brawlers Guild Hall, traditional draft with Theros, standard events, which I don't know what a standard event would mean or a historic event would mean. Let's see, traditional standard event and historic event. What does a standard event mean? Spend 500 gold and win a bunch of potential gold back. If you get 7 wins, you get 1,000 gold and 3 cards. It's probably not a bad deal if you are a really good player. And then if we were going to do a traditional standard event, it's twice as expensive for potentially twice as much gold and 3 cards. And these are all the gameplay modes they don't want you to play. If you do traditional historic, it's 1,000 gold again for 2,100 gold and 3 cards. Challenge match, tournament matches, coin flips. Several different kinds of direct challenges you can do. Alright, where here did we want
Good
to
to see you again.
I don't want to replay the tutorial. We did that. I think what they want us to do is master the color challenges. So let's see what this is.
I've got them all figured out.
Okay. So you just have to play each
I'm
color
not just feared, I'm
to
respected.
beat each of these 5 bosses. Which are these 5 bosses different?
I am proud of all those who stand up to evil.
Somewhat,
Are they your memories? Or
but
mine?
not really, because you end up fighting the cloaked character last, and then you get a combination of these 4 characters. And I've done all of these, and it doesn't seem like these are any different at all.
I've conquered death,
Yeah.
as I will conquer you.
Let's see. Yeah, these don't feel like they're really worth doing. But it does kind of feel like you would have a better option to work your way through that tutorial mess and just learn how to play Magic. Alright, so that leaves us with just playing cards, and I can't play my black deck, so we're gonna have to experiment. We might as well show off the mill deck since I rebuilt that, and then we need to start covering the news. As for the accountability section of today, I did 1, maybe 3 episodes. That my insomnia has had me like awake for a couple hours and fall asleep and then awake, so I can't even really in my mind tell you how many recordings I've done between Wednesday and now. But I've either done, I think, between 1 or 3 recordings of Ori and the Blind Forest. I'm in the final section, but it turns out that the DLC section of the game unlocks 2 abilities, and there's really no point when they added that DLC section for the definitive edition of Ori and the Blind Forest. There's like no point that tells you should go and do that right now. And I should have played this card first, actually. So instead, I've just been following the narrative of the game. The game tells you your main goal is to go to this point, and even at that, I've been jumping around the entire world trying to get all the collectibles, much to my dismay, because it seems fairly obvious that what they did is they just added little caverns off the sides of existing areas, and those existing areas are and when the DLC added those little caves, they put a special door that can only be opened with the special ability from the DLC section. So it's very much tacked on. Does have reach? Nope. So I can attack with that. And so I'm hoping and assuming that I'll beat the main story, of which the story is pretty simplistic for Ori and the Blind Forest, but I think I'll beat it, and then it will just let me run around the map and get all the rest of the collectibles and do the DLC. Either that or it's going to give me a new game plus, and I don't think I'd really want to run around the whole world just to get collectibles in a new game plus. It's still very, very questionable how you would play that game without dying, which is one of the default gameplay modes. It is unlocked by default. I guess I will applaud them for doing that, because it certainly could have been a case where they would have forced you to play the entirety of the game once before you could even puts a number of cards equal to the number of cards in their hand from the top of their library into the graveyard. Yep, can't do that this turn. I can attack here. Yeah, so I feel like I probably will take 2 or 3 more episodes, and then I'll be done with Ori and the Blind Forest. And then at that point, I think I will need to schedule some things, and I feel like perhaps the reality of the situation is just kind of settling in more of I've really gotten down to the point where I can really only make one pre-recorded series for my channel. So I probably at that point need to find the next game I'm going to cover and just start covering it. Maybe I'll take a little bit of a break and do a point-and-click adventure. Something along that lines. Something a little bit different. I guess, as far as I recall, we still kind of have that same problem with the Lego games being micro-stuttery. So I'm not super motivated to go back and play yet another one of them, of which there's not even that many left. Okay. Draw a bunch of cards. This would really just have me draw 2 cards. Let's do this. And then do this again. Which has me discard a card. Which I guess I can do that? No, let's not. Let's instead do this. Jumpstart, you have to discard a card, I guess. And see, this is the thing we needed. Activate this ability. Then we have to kind of keep an idea as far as what abilities this guy has, because he can't attack until there's 7 or more cards in your opponent's graveyard. He has 2, but he can block as long as you have 4 cards in your hand, which is not particularly the easiest thing to keep in mind. Much like my black deck, there is just a lot of babying that's going on here. Alright, so yeah, that's pretty much all I need to say about that. Why did it mute itself? Play audio when minimized is enabled. We have a decent number of games coming out, so it seems like there may have been a bit of a break. I wouldn't be surprised if most of the Valve employees are working from home, and so they're, well, at least the ones in Seattle where the coronavirus is hitting them hard. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see more low-effort garbage games. What is going on? It was a major update. Let's see. Let's just go ahead and click that and then click that again. With this new band list, and it does kind of feel like 1 step forward, 2 steps back a lot of times. Yeah, and this is just going to go completely quiet, and I don't think I have a way to avoid that. OBS 34 minutes ago said that Twitch API, authentication API, seems to be having some issues at the moment, causing errors when connecting to your Twitch account in OBS. I don't stream to Twitch, so that doesn't affect me, but I imagine that will affect a lot of other people. People trying to stream. Like, that's the thing that just can never happen when you're trying to stream, particularly if it's your daily job and you're actually making a decent amount of money. Being a streamer, losing a days of work can be devastating. Alright, that time the audio just stopped on its own. That didn't even have anything to do with me clicking somewhere. There we go. Scry and then draw a card. And then what do we want to do? This one still can't attack. You really can't do anything until you get this on the field. And you really can't put this on the field until you're somewhat ready for it. Yeah. So yeah, I have no idea why the audio is cutting out when minimized. It shouldn't be doing that. It should be playing in the background as it was Wednesday. The only thing that has changed is this software, so they've introduced a bug. It's crazy. They clearly need more programmers and better programmers. I probably could have activated my ability there. That probably would have helped me. But whatever. I screwed up because I'm not paying enough attention. Well, do I want to take 13 damage? This one has to be blocked by everybody too. Ah, they've just ruined me. So this is still an experimental deck, obviously. It's not hitting a extremely high win ratio that would justify playing it in standard. Let's see, whenever deals damage, that player puts that many cards from their library into the graveyard. So yeah, you basically have to play that.
We'll make this look easy.
And then do this.
It's how you play the hand you're dealt.
Do this. And do this. And probably didn't need to scry for more swamps, more islands. Yeah, clearly I play black too much because I call them swamps. Alright, so we have a game on Steam here called My Psychedelic World. It looks like it is a asset flip sniper game with not a lot going on. It seems like they didn't even bother to put textures on these characters. This is kind of indicative of the games I've seen released today. $13.99 English full audio. Like, it seems like we probably, because the Valve situation, it does feel like that they probably greenlit and allowed more games on their storefront than I think would have been the right move. Not that Valve ever curates its storefront, but it has been a good week or two where we haven't seen a ton of low effort Western games in particular. And even the Chinese low effort games have been particularly low. This guy's not playing, so I'm gonna have to click over here. So Gamasutra has an article here. Activision Blizzard names the veteran Google exec Daniel Allegri as president and COO. I think the COO might beat CEO, Chief Operating Officer. No, he will report directly to CEO Bobby Kotick, which inherently I think that really won't change too much with Activision Blizzard. This is not really good evidence to say stop boycotting Activision Blizzard because of that. If anything, it probably is just another money interested character being brought on. And being a Google exec doesn't really mean anything positive, because we know, generically speaking, regardless of what part of Google you worked in, you're still probably not that good of a business person. Alright. So this is gonna be a nightmare scenario. Auto pay. Might be able to turn this around. Yeah. I found a card that was rather interesting, and we'll have to show it off. It synergizes around playing specific gate lands that are labeled as gates.
Stay on the
That apparently were a thing in one of the expansions, but I'm not sure that there actually is a strategy around it that wins. Let's see. This guy's just gonna attack, and that's gonna be a problem. This is gonna leave me ruined. Let's see, we gotta keep clicking and loading tabs, so yeah. I guess maybe we could try and exit the app and restart the app. But I don't really have a belief that that would change too much. Okay. Let's see. I want to draw a card. Or do I want to draw a card this way? Land. Creature, land, get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that. So now I could draw 3 cards for the next 3 turns, which is better than drawing a single card. Do I want to attack with this? I think I'm safe to attack with this, and I think I can take out his guy. Next game we have on Steam called Loco Parentis VR, which looks like it's probably a Spanish language horror asset flip game. Doesn't look particularly unique. Let's see. Has a standard non-VR version. It's $22.49 discounted. It's English and Russian full audio. I'll give it a follow, but it frankly is probably nothing. Have to actually click the follow. There's definitely a case to be made that the Russian trolls are back in business, according to CNN at least. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe the Russian parliament and their votes and their changes to the constitution to just let Putin stay in charge even longer. Maybe all focus was on that until that got passed, and that got passed a couple days ago, so now they're back to funding troll farms that are making terrible low effort asset flip video games to maybe get funding. I don't even know why they do it. Okay, play this, go 5+, then go 1-. That should be 4. That should line up. Actually, I could have done 5+. Interesting. Well, that worked fine. What's this gonna do? Tap target non-land permanent. There you go. We'll just tap a planeswalker. Not that that matters one bit. I don't think planeswalkers can attack anyways. Man, does this just suck? Boy, does that really suck for the audio to cut out that way. Well, nothing's happening here. Next game we have on Steam is called Flaming Friday Night, which I suspect is a Russian low-effort horror game too. You've got this blonde girl that has like a meat cleaver at times. Hacking and slashing and stabbing people and fighting Santa Claus and zombies and like dark screenshot syndrome in every screenshot except for this one. 99 cents, English only. So, yep, I guess I can't just by default say it's a terrible Russian game, but it looks like one. But I'll just say it's a terrible looking game, period. And yeah, all I can do is this, and that. And we're gonna lose. How many cards do I have left? 22. It would be quite the challenge. Let's see. So, can I exile 5 cards? Or should I do this? Still probably doesn't save the day for me. Man, we're gonna have to try and reboot after this game.
Stay on the trail.
Not reboot the whole computer, but just exit and restart the exit and restart the game, because this audio is just awful. If we're not going to do that, then we're going to have to just mute the audio completely and play in complete silence, and nobody wants to do that, trust me. yeah, game over. So yeah, the mill deck still needs work. And it's not even like there really is a daily quest specifically built around drawing a bunch of cards. Every daily quest is just around casting cards. So that doesn't make a lot of sense. We got another Thirst Beyond Death pack, which is just gonna give me common wild cards and uncommon wild cards, and that's about it. Let's see. If we look at the collection, we got a 4th copy of this, a 4th copy of that, and a 4th copy of that. So that's not bad. This guy's online. Let's see how the chat works now. It says press tab to cycle chat. What does that mean? Tab, tab, tab. Well, in this mode, typing does nothing. In this mode, typing does nothing. In this mode, typing does something. But the untap.gg overlay is directly over this. So here is your chat, I suppose, if you wanted to use the chat. And I guess that would stay inside the games. You only get 5 lines, and it seems like if you were really typing words, you really only get about 5 small to medium words per line. So 25 things you can say, that's a very short chat. Let's go ahead and exit. I'm going to just exit out, and we're going to relaunch, and we're going to hope that that fixes the audio ducking issue, which is what that's called, and it shouldn't be happening. And 50% chance that this is going to ask me to log in. Okay. Now we've got no audio. There we go. Play audio when minimized. Checked. Alright, next we need to play green or white cards. So, Forest Mites 1.2. We haven't played green in a while. Tech Raptor has an article over here. My Heroes One Justice review. It is another fighting game based off an anime, which, let's be honest, at this point it's fairly obvious they're still doing the same old. A lot of times where they're making low effort fighting games and tying in a anime around it. Here, Tech Raptor is giving it a 6.5. My Hero Academia, I hear, is fairly popular, despite some controversies around the naming of some characters, or maybe some made-up controversies around the naming of some of the characters, depending on your opinion. But yeah, not a great fighting game. I think that just consistently is the problem, and yeah, the audio is just gonna duck out. I'll try. The last thing I can do is just see if maybe that toggle is broken, and it'll stop doing the thing it's doing when I toggle it the other way. Alright, this next game is tagged sexual content and nudity. Let me see if it's mostly YouTube family friendly. Yep, that toggle didn't work either. So next game we have on Steam is called Gift Girl, which is clearly just a low effort asset flip of a girl dancing around. And that seems to be all it is for $1.19. And then a whole bunch of languages. So yeah, we are getting garbage games. The worst sound to miss out on this is the timer sound. Oh man. Something went wrong there. I wanted to create a basic food. Yeah, and I guess if you were gonna message, you could do it in the game as much as you can do it anywhere else. Does this guy have death touch? Oddly, no. Next we have a game on Steam called Relentless. I guess we'll just try to stop the audio ducking from happening so much. Or we could try and fix it another way. Like this game Relentless is $3.99. It looks very uninteresting. It's English and French. It seems like it's a simulation of stock market trading, which there's better games out there for that. Alright, let's see if we can solve this problem a different way. I'm gonna come over here, and I have some idle music. I'm gonna turn that way down. There we go, and then I'm gonna see how that sounds and if that's playing on the recording. And then I'm gonna tell it to repeat forever. Okay. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come over here to the audio, and I'm just gonna turn the music off. And we'll do some live mixing during the stream, and then we won't have the awkward stop of sound effects when we click onto something. And hopefully we'll get a update to fix that problem before the next thing, the next stream on Monday. Let's see how that sounds. Yeah, that works pretty well. You still have cutouts as far as ambient sound effects and things like that. It might not be a bad idea to come in here and turn off the ambience too. Moving forward, we have a game on Steam called Blue Fox, which looks like it's a slightly nicely animated game, but pretty small. It feels more like something that you play on an iPad. Looks like it's a top-down twin-stick shooter, but also it seems like it's just a collection of mini games where random people are shooting at random people, because this looks like a platformer. $15.99 is way too expensive for it. It's English only. Yeah. If this was based on some kind of cartoon or something, maybe it would have more appeal, but even at that $16 for what looks like a collection of mini games does seem ridiculously high. I cannot play any of these cards. Could have attacked with that. There was nothing stopping me. Gamatsu has an article here. The Legend of Heroes Zero no Kisekai PS4 web commercial is available. We may have already talked about this. But yep, looks nicely animated for a JRPG. This might not be the same Legend or JRPG I'm thinking about, though. I don't think we had a lot of leftover stuff on Wednesday even. So we just had a lot of games come out. I'm not even sure if we got official confirmation of E3 being cancelled. But yeah, E3's cancelled. Everything's cancelled because of the coronavirus. Or just cautions around the coronavirus might be a better way of describing it. Taking precaution in an environment where it is the right move, in my opinion. So basically anything that was going to be even shown at E3, regardless if it was a super single eye indie game that had a tiny little booth, or if it was a Microsoft stage presentation game, all of those are going to start getting teased, assuming that they plan to be sold and the games aren't just going to be pushed back. It is a, let's see, It is a secondary concern and factor, I suppose, though, as far as whether you want to release your game now. I was thinking almost certainly by the time we get to Black Friday, if people, regardless of whether people feel financially secure enough to even buy a lot of stuff on Black Friday, we're going to see a very heavy emphasis of online sales and maybe no store sales at all, or very small store sales, or perhaps ticket systems at these stores instead of having people wait in line. Like, I would not be surprised if it is potentially completely undone by the coronavirus, and that's a kind of good move in my opinion. Getting rid of Black Friday, the Black Friday mess, would be nice, but there will be financial consequences to something like that, certainly. Alright. Fight and kill that. And then I can't attack. So as far as video games are concerned, though, you want, I would think that people want to get their games out. They still have the problem of potentially not losing all their shareholder price even more by saying that they were going to cancel everything. It really couldn't be just a no more video games are coming out for all of 2020. Somebody's going to have to sneak in there and try and sell their product. I imagine people that have not that good games in the first place are going to be more happy about the idea of less competition. So bad games will probably come out more often than they normally would, and more flippantly than they normally would. Good games may be delayed, though. Like, it is very believable that the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X get delayed. I don't think they were really going to come out this Christmas season anyways, but I wouldn't be surprised if they get delayed just because of hardware shortages and electronic shortages. And with the delay of the consoles, I wouldn't be surprised if there's rather major delays with the the majority of AA games, AAA games, even single A games. I think we could see a major slowdown, which is fine, frankly. Like, it's not even a case that last year was just overflowing with games or any that came out, and most of the games that did come out last year were not amazingly good anyways. So, like, taking it slow for a couple years and really doing a good job. When you look at the Final Fantasy VII remake, perfect time for them to say, because of the coronavirus, we're just going to delay releasing the first half and selling it to you piecemeal, and instead we're going to actually give you all of Final Fantasy VII in one game as a remake, even if it is going to be a massive, like, 200 plus gigabyte game. That would be great. Even Ori and the Will of Wisp, which is out and I hear is way better than Ori and the Blind Forest, I don't think I'm going to be able to forget how frustrating Ori and the Blind Forest has been for at least a year. So I don't think I would jump into it. Even if somebody gifted me the sequel Will of Wisps, it would be too much, I think, to jump in there and play the second game. But I do hear it is better, and credit is where credit is due. And it does seem like it does kind of emphasize more on the combat and smoother stuff. But the one thing Ori and the Will of Wisp doesn't seem to do is run smoothly on PC or consoles, and even with its day one patch, it still sounds like it needs more patching. That was a Microsoft Studio funded game. There's not a great reason for that to have come out in that style, and that is concerning, certainly when you think about the fact that Double Fine is now owned by Microsoft, and Psychonauts 2. I mean, you want that to run well, you want that to be a good game. If it isn't, there's a lot of blame that can be passed around to a lot of different people. So, yeah. I want to play this instead. So, Ori and the Will of Wisp, a great example of a game that they probably could have delayed, but it came out. It was already on the schedule too early for them to start blaming the coronavirus. Any game that has already gone gold, there really isn't a justification at that point to say, well, we've reached a point where we can make that final version and we've done all the QA we're gonna do. But games that were going to come out a month from now, 2 months from now, 3 months from now, yeah, those games less likely to have gone gold, as the phrase is used. That gold master copy, the copy they're going to send to production, although the concept of going gold is to put a disc and send it to production in a factory, and that factory is probably in China or an Asian country, which is also another way it could be delayed. So, yeah. We're going to see a lot of digital announcements of games, but I wouldn't be surprised if it really is just a case of us getting teased for games that aren't coming out anytime soon. We may be in this perpetual hype train scenario for quite a while for the rest of the year. On the other hand, kids' schools are getting canceled, and they need something to keep them busy. So we might see more Nintendo and young kid-friendly games coming out, but probably not them coming out. More just sales of Switches, sales of Game Boys, very possibly a lot of sales of used consoles and old games, since there really isn't anything new. If that's not what happens, then I wouldn't be surprised if there's just going to be a major increase in interest in things like Roblox and Fortnite and Minecraft, even though the interest in those games are already incredibly high. But yeah, if kids have free time and they're self-isolating themselves inside their houses, going outside and playing, running around, sweating, coughing, sneezing, getting in places where allergies could occur, all of those are going to be off the table. There's just going to be a lot of Netflixing, a lot of video games. This very possibly might be the one thing that saves GameStop, is the idea that brave parents are going to risk going to a GameStop, getting a very large collection of used games, and then having their kids play it for potentially the rest of the year, when they're not doing their online school stuff, which, yeah, only some schools can really do that. Only some schools have enough laptops and even Wi-Fi access points through cell phone networks, because they have to be able to teach all the kids. So if there's even one kid that doesn't have internet and doesn't have a computer in the school, then they really can't do the online thing. And then at that point they're just canceling classes. Also, when schools are canceled, it's major problems for the parents, because most parents are two working parents with no childcare available or no childcare affordable. So one parent is potentially taking off work in a scenario where they can't really afford to take off work. And a lot of low-income families, of which there's quite a lot in the United States, there is no real middle class. There is only the poverty class and the extremely wealthy oligarchs, and the poverty class is lied to and tricks themselves into thinking they're middle class when they really aren't. Middle class would have to be in the middle, so a middle between a person making $30,000-$40,000 a year, or a family even making $30,000-$40,000, and somebody making $4 billion a year. Yeah, add those two numbers together, divide by 2, you're not seeing a lot of people making that kind of money. Like, that would be $100,000 a year? Am I doing the math right? Yeah. I may be doing the math wrong. Anyways, next game we have is all in Asian letters. It looks like another top-down Diablo Chinese game. And every time I see one of these Chinese games, though, it seems like they just have no creativity. English is not supported, free, Chinese only. Like, and I don't mean that as an insult. It's just, it feels like Asia has been forced to embrace the cliched Chinese culture so much that it's become just homogenized to an extreme. Nobody's telling new stories. You don't really get like a J.K. Rowling Harry Potter type writer coming out of China, and for the number of people in China particularly, there should be some kind of J.K. Rowling type writer, and with like the exception of the Buddha and some really old characters, and I guess the authors of the great Chinese novels, Sun Tzu, The Art of War, things like that. Yeah, a lot of times looking at Chinese stuff is very equivalent to some conversations I've had with people who are obsessed with religion, in the sense that that is all they talk about. And yeah, I've run into 2 or 3 people that, like, every single conversation, regardless of where you start, they try to steer the conversation in a narcissistic way towards religion, because that's the only thing they know. And sure, if there was a natural flow to that conversation, that's one thing, but oftentimes that would be compiled and compounded to an even worse scenario, because then they kind of didn't have anything new to say or anything intriguing to say. Just spouting off Bible verses is not good conversation unless you are actively in Bible study. Yeah, I don't know if that's a fair comparison, but it does definitely feel like that. Alright, if I get 9, I'll still die. So, unless I have another giant growth already in the graveyard. Let's see. This is gonna do 12. Wish I had trample. Yeah, but I don't have trample. Moving on to the next game. Let's see, this game is tagged nudity and sexual content, so let me double check to make sure it's YouTube family friendly. This is actually rather an interesting twist. We've got a game on Steam called Love Breakout, which is Arkanoid Brick Breaker with anime girls in the background. It's terrible by far, because the color palette in no way stands out from the background art, and the background art is incredibly distracting. But we haven't seen a lot of Arkanoid sex games and free 18+ content. 69 cents, English, Chinese, full audio, and then several other languages it claims to support. Again, not really a product that that is worth owning, but it is definitely following in line that it has been about 2 weeks since we've seen we've seen any of the adult games allowed through, and it is Friday. It does tend to be that whatever person is in charge of allowing the adult games through only allows them on Friday, just so they get less press, I guess, and less coverage than other games. They are being treated differently compared to everything else. Let's go ahead and attack. there a reason I need to kill that guy? I don't think so. You probably could use this to kill this. But will this protect them? +3 +3. What did that do? It gave him first strike. Darn it. Alright. Gamatsu has an article here. Ishigami no Kizuna launches this spring in Japan and changes publisher from Ford Works to Rydo. This is some iOS Android game of some sort. Let's see if we have any general idea of what kind of game it is. Is it a shoot 'em up? Is it a gacha game? I think it's probably a gacha game. From the looks of it, something along the lines of like, is there a lane? Let's see if this opening movie tells us anything else about the gameplay. Nope. But the focus on the anime characters and such does make it feel like it's probably a gacha game. Let's see if there's a description. Do I want to block here? It's interesting, when I click back on the window, it seems like it plays back the audio even though it's a little later than it should. All other creatures you have trampled. Nice. Let's see how this works. Next we have a game on Steam called The Travelin' Home, which is labeled as a Lovecraftian RPG. The art here does not look particularly good. Yeah, unfortunately that does not look like $9.99 worth of game polish. English full audio allegedly, I doubt that. Top down only perspective. Even if this was a translation of some old text-based game, it's not recognizable, so it's not relevant. Or if this was based on a board game, it's not visually polished enough. Like, the idea that you can get away with making a low effort game because it's based off a board game is a really bad concept and not something I'm willing to accept. Alright. Do we take the hit? I think we take the hit. He's got only one card, so if I could actually get, well, 7 more damage, seems unlikely that would happen. So I'm gonna just attack with this one. And he really shouldn't be able to defeat that. Gamatsu has an article here for PS4, PC, smartphone, and Switch. Genshin Impact details Bennett, another character in the game. Genshin Impact is a 3D JRPG from the looks of it, coming out in 2020. Now would be a pretty great time to to choose to play a JRPG. But personally, I don't think I can do that. I don't think my back is in any position where I could do hour-long to hour and 30-minute long episodes and do a lot of that for like 60 to 120 hour game. And even if I could do that, I would have to be very careful about how this whole thing would break up. Oh, you won there. I'd have to be very careful about just speed running the JRPGs and not playing it as a OCD collector. Let's go ahead and switch over to the white deck. What are we playing here? This one, I guess. Yeah. We're still in a weird position, and I'll be glad when Core 20 happens, because I really do need to think, do I want to go back to Angelic Army, or do I want to play these new white cards, or do I want to play the next collection of new white cards? Because I kind of prematurely named Force Might 1.2, and Out for Blood 1.1 is working very well. And then the red deck, the blue deck, the green deck, alone, all these other decks, not really that useful. And then all these other ones are not that useful either. And apparently this one has been updated somehow, and that's why it is more modified than version 1.1 is. So I probably should come back and correct and like get rid of some of these decks next expansion. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Lessons with Chi-Chan from Faku and Kagura Games, which are names of publishers I recognize. Here you have the gal style animation where they're very tan Japanese girls, and she's drawn so tall in this visual novel that her head is chopped off. Interesting. That is weird. I don't think I can agree with that. Also, this screenshot is widescreen, yet this screenshot has black borders on it. That's weird. It's rated positively as a visual novel, $16.99. It's got full Japanese and then English and Chinese support. I guess I have to put it on the follow list, but honestly, she's not that impressive as far as a visual novel. We're not seeing any other characters, not seeing a lot of directions, not really seeing anything. She's going with the big busted appearance, which you don't get a lot of that in anime art style, so that might appeal with the gal and the blonde. This is effectively what Japanese think people in the United States and in the West want, and generally speaking, they're probably right. Let's see. Why would I have Fabled Passage? Because I have a black and white deck. Interesting. We'll see how this goes. This is about gaining life, this deck is. Just gotta figure out the right way to play it. Do we want to attack? No. Next we have a game on Steam called Network ELE, which they say is a first-person VR game. It almost looks like a game where you play as like a bomb disposal person, but then why is this video of somebody playing a guitar? Yeah, this feels random, certainly. Very random. And then in this, there's just way too much on screen. And then this F prompt. Let's see, this is $15.99. And they're doing some kind of contest that I don't trust. English full audio. I have no idea what this is supposed to be. It feels like it's supposed to be like a cyberpunk type game, but by the looks of it, it just seems so random. I cannot even bother to put it on the follow list. It just looks so terribly animated. Right. Play this, and then play this, and then do this.
I hope you find.
Yep. Gamatsu has an article here. Inside Neo 2 Archipel documentary is apparently available if you want to see a documentary on Neo 2, a game that's not even out.
Feeds the soul.
Yeah, I don't know why the audio would pause when you click on a different screen. That's the crazy part about this. Like, it should just stop playing. Alright. Guess we'll do that. And that. If I can survive till the next
I am
turn,
a Johnny
I can
Goldmane.
potentially start getting some extra health upgrades.
Evil had better watch its step.
A Johnny, apparently is how that's pronounced. There's something weird now with the mystery boosters and the idea that they're going to bring in Dungeons and Dragons themes. It kind of does feel like they're just shaking everything up as far as Magic is concerned.
Friendship is the best cure.
Let's see. Can I do this? Or do I need to do this? Whatever creatures attacks you do 1 damage. Gamatsu has an article here. Dragon Marked for Death version 3.0 updates. Launches April 21st. Adds a playable characters Oracle and the Bandit. I don't recognize this game. Though, what was even the name of it? Dragon Marked for Death. Looks like it's a platformer, beat 'em up, kind of Metroidvania type
I will
game.
do what I can to help.
Let's see what the video has to show us. Yep. Beat 'em up platformer, Metroidvania type thing. By the looks of it. Doesn't look terrible. Might be pretty boring though. Alright. Okay. I need to put this. Here. This guy's still gonna kill me.
Let's put you.
We must.
Careful.
I hope we can't remember what I taught you.
Just clears the field.
You should all.
Well, we're gonna lose there, so let's not worry about that too much. Man, this audio sucks. Gamatsu has an article here. Hatsune Miku, Project Diva, Mega Mix DLC, additional music pack 2nd and 3rd are now available in Japan. And apparently it comes with Hatsune Miku, and I believe this is the newer Vocaloid character, one of them, in bikinis. Yep, Hatsune Miku still selling music, still selling games. Here you can even look, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different articles about the game.
Strength of a lion.
Let's just go ahead and skip that feedback, because I don't really have any feedback for that specific game as much as I do have feedback for this just not working well. I'm getting no victories at the moment, and I don't know if I'm going to get any victories today. In fact, we probably should just try and burn through the news without even trying to play anymore, because it is so annoying, this audio. And I guess I could maybe just turn all the audio off. Let's just try that. Let's do this and this, and then just do that, and just have the audio completely off. So you start with this, and then activate the ability here. Let's see. I probably shouldn't use pacifism on that character. This game, according to Gamatsu, Prison Princess, is coming to PC on April 3rd. I thought this game was already out. Unless this is a completely different game. It first launched on the eShop on January 3rd. It's coming to PC on April 3rd. So it came out on the Switch January 30th. So, yeah. This is a lewd game as far as I can tell. I mean, one really only has to look at the cleavage to guess that, of two princesses trapped in rooms, and then it's kind of an escape the room type game. It is a little surprising it's getting more attention and more notifications, and that it's releasing on multiple days. We certainly are in a weird position nowadays where you can just have a pretty low effort game come out on the Nintendo eShop, make enough money then to justify porting it to PC, which isn't really that hard, and then selling it on Steam. So it would be a weird scenario if it turned out that the Nintendo eShop became the new Steam, and Steam was the place for quality and curation. But also, that's kind of what has happened already to the PlayStation Network and the Microsoft Xbox Arcade games too, is that there's a rather large amount of garbage that's being sold on those storefronts, and I think very few people that actually look at those storefronts to find games to play. Moving on, we have a game on Steam called Islands of War, 2 eyes. And yeah, it seems to me like it's a Terraria type clone with a concept of making floating islands that then shoot at each other, which doesn't make a lot of sense. It's early access for $7.99, which is way too expensive, and it's English only. We're getting kind of the same theme over and over again. Really expensive, rather bad games this Friday, which is kind of typical. But it felt like for a week or two there that we were not running into as many bad games. Although on the other hand, maybe we were, and I was just ignoring them or forgetting about them as I was dealing with my back spasming. And I have to apologize if you're not tired of hearing me complain about my back. You're going to it's going to be a big factor, and it's dishonest and silly for me to not mention it. It's I think this guy's turn, so apologize if I'll try to keep it down, but yeah, it is a big concern. Next we have a game on Steam called Sinshi Tank 2 Spacebots, which doesn't look particularly impressive as a top-down shooter with tanks. Looks like it may have been a mobile phone game from the looks of these big circles. Otherwise it just has a really obnoxious heads-up display. It's early access, $7.64, English only. Again, not anything that interesting. It doesn't seem like this game is going anywhere. Let's just concede. Nope, the game has crashed. The game has crashed and locked up. So I turn off all the audio and the game doesn't like that. I can't auto pass. I can talk, but I can't concede. I can't do anything else. Alright, well, let's just cover some news until I decide I want to shut down and exit the entire app. May have to Control-Alt-Delete it, which probably means I'd have to reload into it. We have a game on Steam here called Shield Maiden, which looks like it might be a platformer Metroidvania game. Although, if it is a Metroidvania game, they're saying it's a pixel adventure, pixel graphics adventure, which I guess maybe I'm calling too many things Metroidvania games. This is zoomed in more and looks more interesting. And if it really is a game where you only have a shield that you kind of throw like Iron Man, that's a interesting limitation on your ability. That feels a lot like some of the NES games where there was one guy, he in Star Tropics Adventure had a yo-yo as his main attack for I think all of the first game. The animation's a little different. I won't say bad though. This could just be different, and this just looks like 8-bit pixel graphics and it looks fine. $14.99 is a little too expensive, and English and Portuguese Brazil. Full audio is a little bit suspicious, but I don't think enough to have me immediately reject it. So I'm going to put this one on the follow list, and then we'll get something else loading, and we'll just see. We can't exit. You can't exit without conceding, and I can't concede. There's a network problem. Yeah, no duh. Took them forever to figure that out. Let me double check and make sure our streaming is still going fine. Seems like it is. Alright, back into a game. OpenCritic has an article here. Gene Sect is making its way over to Pokemon Go. I don't even know what that is. A new mythical Pokemon is making its way to Pokemon Go. I don't even know who Genesect is. They don't even seem to have a picture of it. So, that's interesting. OpenCritic has an article here. The Last of Us composer has been confirmed for the HBO adaptation, which is good. You would want similar music if you're not just going to use the same music, which, yeah, I don't know if, yeah, I don't know if you really would just want to use the same music. But the thing about video game music, though, is it's fairly long and usually pretty loopable. So an entire season of a TV series, you could probably use all the music from the game and not even have to re-author it, assuming that there's not some kind of other reason that you can't do that, like licensing or something. That is something that, if they are doing that in the Castlevania Netflix series, I'm certainly not recognizing that. I wouldn't really recognize too many of the Castlevania songs, but I would assume there's something with some organ sounds in it, and I haven't really heard didn't hear anything in the third season. Maybe they did that in the first or second season. There were plenty of opportunities in the Castlevania series, and there always will be, to have fight scenes, and in those fight scenes that gives you plenty of opportunity to potentially play just music as people are fighting, instead of playing a bunch of sound effects and putting in quippy dialogue, and do something more artistic. But the main fight scene for season 3, it was just a bunch of sound effects and quippy lines of dialogue. So they didn't go that way. The Epic Games Store has 3 games available: Anodyne 2, A Short Hike, and Mutazione. And then 14 hours ago, they were aware that logins and registrations may result in an error. We've provided an update when the issue will be resolved, and then an hour after that, the issue involving logins and registrations has been resolved. So yeah, the Epic Games Store is still having trouble. I heard that Microsoft Azure service went down for a day, I think on Monday, but this could have been last week for all I know. But there wasn't a lot of people complaining about it, because it seems like Microsoft just directly contacted people that would have been affected and told them that they were aware of it, instead of putting it out publicly and publicly shaming themselves. And that seemed to have quailed complaints quite a bit. Or if people were complaining directly on Twitter, they were just private messaging responses to people instead of directly replying to messages so that they're public. That really is the way I think you should run any kind of big service. Is try your best not to highlight your mistakes, and not make it so obvious. It's really weird that both Twitch and the Epic Store seem to go out of their way to do the exact opposite. Well, I'm just gonna attack with this and attack with this. I don't think there's much of a danger here. And then with this, he's got 3 attacks before he loses. We've got a game on Steam here called Border Strain, which looks like a top-down twin-stick shooter, but it also seems like it has some dark screenshot syndrome. But more importantly, it also has just a horrible tile set and color palette, so I can't even really tell if these are supposed to be the characters that are playing or what. Like, I can't not differentiate the background from the characters at all. This is $10.39 discounted, English full audio allegedly. Again, maybe if this was a $2.99 game, I might consider it, but not a $10 game. It would be weird if we saw a major increase in price of games on Steam and just everywhere. If there was just straight up some price gouging going on, because they know people need more entertainment as kids are getting their schools suspended or homeschooling, digital learning. That would be a weird twist. You know what, I think, even though Magic is treating me horribly here, I think I want to get that Historic Collection one. Because the next expansion, unless they just throw a real curveball in the works, the next expansion is just going to be core 2021 cards. And I will want to get a lot of them, but I'll get those in drafts. So there isn't a big concern around making sure to get that. So I think I will get the core anthology one, or the historic anthology one. I guess after this game. We'll just do it. We'll roll the dice, spend 20,000 gold, which is the roughly equivalent of $60 of real world money. Man, saying it out loud certainly is not. No, I think I'm wrong, actually. I think it's the equivalent of $25. That sounds more realistic. So, he names a card, Drown Secrets, and then we're going to play Drown Secrets. And it says, when you cast the spell with the chosen name for the first time this turn, draw 2 cards. So he didn't even do it right, unless he's got another Drown Secrets ready to go. Do I want to play this, or do I actually think I can do this. I do this. Then deck. I found out that Proliferate will let you skip these cards forward, by the way. These lore counters count as a counter, and thus Proliferate will move them forward and activate their abilities. I don't know why you would want to do that to your opponent's cards, but it does seem like something you could definitely do to your own cards. Still probably isn't the best use of Proliferate ever, but something. I can't really do anything there, so we'll just end the turn. Next we have a game on Steam called Elmarian Dragon Time, which seems to be a game where you play as a dragon, flying around. I can't say I hate the concept of playing as a dragon, although Spyro is probably the only dragon game that's actually been successful. And then it's widescreen in everything except the movie, although the resolution seems to jump left and right. Early access for $8.49 English and Russian. This is probably a low effort Russian game, but I'll put it on the fall list. We'll see if people actually review it and say, actually, this is a really good game where you play as a dragon. That would be great. Although, yeah, I think there's probably just this constant guarantee that you'll never actually have a good game where you play as a dragon because the dragons are just too powerful a creature. That's why in Skyrim you, I think, can turn into a dragon for a very brief section and that's about it. You don't play as a dragon the whole game. Instead you play as this dragonborn creature that has some of the abilities of a dragon but still has the limitations of a human being, so that you can actually be defeated and killed by realistic things like bears. Alright, pacifism. Oh man. Did that wrong. That would have been the one instance where tapping the right mana would have been wise. Right. We should have played that. But whatever. And that. And that. Next we have a game on Steam here called Toy Killer, which obviously looks like a low effort first person shooter asset flip game. Although I don't even know if you can call this an asset flip because I have not seen these visual assets before. Looks like they're taking that Weeble's toy and making it a first person shooter for no reason. Weebles not being a particularly popular toy, I think. I don't think they were ever particularly popular. $2.39 discounted, English only. Let's do this. Do I want to defend or do I want to just attack? Because I can kind of just win here. Speaking of toys, Lego has done something that I didn't think they were gonna do, which is partner with Nintendo, because Nintendo had been with Megabox before, and they're doing something unique there. I don't really know a better way to put it. What they had been doing over the past year, Lego had, is pushing this Brickhead series, which are giant Funko Pop competitors. That they're direct competitors to Funko Pop, and the major difference is that it has anything Lego sells is going to have to at least somewhat integrate the idea of Lego bricks interlocking. The Brickheads as a series, not great. They're ugly in the same way that Funko Pop dolls are ugly too. So I don't think I intentionally purchased any. I may have gotten one for free. And so just not the thing for me. So what they're doing with Nintendo is they're making something like a Brickhead. It is very square. It is very Minecraft-y feeling of Mario. But it's not really a minifig blown up or even a Brickhead blown up, because it has Bluetooth, as far as I can tell, because there's a Bluetooth button. It has a very small LCD screen on the front of it. It's just Mario, and it either has an NFC type Bluetooth tag reader attached to his feet and possibly his head, or it has some kind of camera barcode scanner or something else attached to his feet and maybe his head also. And there's going to be multiple sets that I imagine are going to be fairly overpriced and not give you very many unique Lego pieces or even interesting Lego pieces. And with these sets, you are going to be building your own Super Mario Brothers style levels. There'll be Goombas and things like that. Again, mostly single pieces of plastic from the looks of it. It is a very weird direction to go because it's not very Lego-y. It's not like you're getting a bunch of 1x1 flat brick pieces and a bunch of 1x1 studs, and then you're building up a level from that. And I call it a Super Mario Brothers levels, but since it's 3D and it's supposed to be kind of like this tabletop game you build your own levels with, something trying to be kind of like Mario Maker if Mario Maker had no features whatsoever. It's probably a lot closer to new Super Mario Brothers U than the original Super Mario Brothers, just because of the 3D elements to it. But it feels very lackluster, and I hate to say this about Nintendo, who I once was obsessed with and loved like crazy, but it doesn't seem like it's a fully thought out, polished concept. Maybe there will be some programming element to this. He's milled me to death. Interesting. There probably was a way for me to win there, but I didn't find it. Yeah. If there was like a programming element to it, that might be something to change my opinion on it. But I think it's pretty simple. So even if there was a programming element compared to like the Star Wars Lego programming sets, which those sets are really expensive, but you are actually teaching programming to kids. That's something. Now, in all fairness, Lego does need to get with the times as far as digital stuff, and they've been trying to do that with the Hidden Side series and having an iPhone app that scans a specific brick, and you spin a dial and it changes the color, and when it sees one of 4 colors, it triggers mini games on the cell phone and shows ghosts. The Hidden Side series is kind of problematic because it's spooky, and not all kids are going to be interested in spooky content. I would hope that the ideas that they're doing with Hidden Side gets expanded to just the Lego City series by default. And then Apple was supposed to be working with Lego to put in 3D augmented reality for many of their sets, if not all of their sets. And we haven't heard anything new around that concept in a while. So them going with Nintendo to go yet a third direction digitally is weird. They kind of have to throw all the spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. And I can't really blame them with that. But for a Nintendo offering, it's definitely not what I would want. Personally, I would have much preferred that they simply did a line of minifigures starring the Nintendo characters And that would be a great way for Nintendo to just say we're getting out of the amiibo business, which they pretty much abandoned amiibos. So that they could have just done a series of minifigs like they did a series of Disney characters. A couple series of Disney characters have been done. There we go. I have enough for Bola Citadel. And this guy will be right in line for Bola Citadel. If I can get just 2 characters and a vindictive vampire. So I hope this Nintendo Lego collaboration succeeds, and I kind of hope it has like more to it than what they're showing right now. The Lego Masters TV series, the Fox version in the United States, is pretty bad too. I've just been fast forwarding through a couple of episodes, but I definitely skipped a couple episodes too. I hope this venture succeeds somewhat, in the sense that they continue their partnership and continue the working with Nintendo. But then I also hope that they get a lot of feedback and the kids tell them this is not what they want, and they come out with something better. Although it may very well be the exact opposite. It may be this is exactly what the kids want, and it sells super well, and Lego is only going to be concerned about their children fans for that kind of product, and Nintendo's only going to be concerned about their children fans, because that's just Nintendo's method of operating anyways. If I could just get like another character in a witch's oven, that would work well for me also. Let's see. Play this. Next. Do I want to attack? Might as well. See if he has any trick up his sleeve. I don't know where the Nintendo Lego collab would go also as it stands, because they have Mario. It would be kind of weird for them to make a Luigi character, Brickhead character. It would be kind of weird to make a Metroid Samus Aran Brickhead character. Yeah, trying to think if there's you could make a Zelda character, I suppose. That wouldn't be too weird. You could. That's about it. You know. It would make a lot more sense if they made a Smash Brothers collab, because then you could just sell a bunch of minifigs of all the Nintendo licensed characters anyways, and then have different sets build the different stages in Smash Brothers, and have a whole bunch of random items like the random items that exist in Smash Brothers. It really would be an easy series to make. Guess we have to do this. Here we go. Taste of death. Bring back the weakest character, the Cauldron Familiar. yeah, a Smash Brothers series would be great. I don't think you would bring out the Squid Kids from Splatoon, like, because there's not really a Splatoon out. You could do an Animal Crossing series pretty easily in Lego. Like, it's kind of obvious that either Nintendo or Lego wanted to do something rather big and rather revolutionary and bold. This probably is also confirmation that the Nintendo Labo is not a thing. So yeah, I don't think we'll see any more Nintendo Labo things. I'm not sure that we had any reason to believe we were going to see any more Nintendo Labo things, but whatever. Alright. So unless this guy can do 5 damage, I think I've won. Gamma Sutra has an article here. A board finds that the Nintendo Joy-Cons don't infringe on Game Vice controller patents. This was Game Vice, they're not even showing the image here, but Game Vice made these controllers that go on the sides of like a tablet or cell phone, and then tried to sue Nintendo, and the idea that that was going to work for them was fairly crazy. In general, I don't think there's much you could do with any controller or any layout of buttons that would stand up in court these days as far as patents. And the patent system is completely broken, and I still don't think that you could do too much to a controller to actually violate somebody's patent and have that stand up to a challenge. All right. The Joy-Con drift problem, it was also sent to arbitration, and that's pretty much a standard for all court cases, class action lawsuits, though. So it'll go to arbitration. They won't settle on anything almost certainly, and then it'll just go back to the court case, and the judge will have to decide, or the jury will have to decide. Gamma Sutra has a postmortem here from Ori and the Blind Forest, which is what I'm playing right now. Although a postmortem is mostly talking about what happened after you developed everything, and it's 3 pages. It's not particularly useful information unless you are going to be a video game designer and you think that somehow any indie company like the developers of Ori and the Blind Forest stumbled into a particularly pristine way of developing a game. I would also argue that developing video games and programming is a fairly individualized procedure. So what works for one person may very well not work for another. And then there definitely are people out there that nothing will work for them because they just don't know how to finish a project. Which, sadly, I think I might need to include myself into that, since I've got some projects certainly that I haven't finished. But then there is also the importance of giving up on things and not feeling bad about giving up. Gamma Sutra has a blog here for video game composers, the importance of themes. Yeah, I imagine we'll start to see a lot of online GDC type presentations showing up on Gamasutra instead. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a like almost 100% merger between GDC and Gamasutra, since the parent company owns both of them in a way that that allows for them to effectively have GDC without actually having GDC. Alright, well, I'm gonna decline that, and then I'm gonna do this. That's still probably not enough to save me. Alright, I'm starting to feel pretty uncomfortable in my chair, so I'm going to just try to burn through these games. We really only have victories left today. We have a game on Steam here called Quest Rooms, which looks like a huge collection of asset flips with traps and an infinite runner, player versus player. Not all of this sounds terrible, because it does basically take the concept of the cube game and then make it an infinite runner instead of a room by room searching thing. It's English and Russian. It's $19.99. And it's 45 on the reviews right now. I'll be generous and put it on the follow list because I just don't want to make a decision right now. And that's about the only reason that it's getting on the follow list. It has been kind of a terrible, terrible day for streaming. The audio screwing up here and just a ton of news. Tech Raptor has an article here. Animal Crossing New Horizons style system lets you make customized wallpaper. If you care about that, check out this article further. I'm not going any more in depth than that. We have a game on Steam here called Ancient Charm, which is tagged nudity, and I should have looked at that. This looks like this is a Chinese game trying to be an interesting Chinese courtesan slide puzzle game. $1.19, and then a free uncensored patch, English and Chinese. This is kind of groundbreaking, though. I mean, you have to admit it. For as puritanical and heavy on censorship as the Chinese government is, and how every game developed in China, regardless of whether it's targeted towards Chinese citizens or not, has been heavily censored. It is kind of a step in the right direction of free speech to have Chinese developers making low effort slide puzzle games that maybe show some nudity. I'm not sure what they really even mean by nudity, though. Like, if we look at these screenshots, I mean, I guess maybe you could redraw this where one boob is hanging out or another boob is hanging out. Assuming these are the exact same images, just censored, you could redraw this where they're topless or fully naked, but they're not even particularly provocative positions. Really, like sleeping, like, yeah, again, she could be topless at that point, and that's kind of it. So unless you're getting completely different art with the uncensored patch, there's like no provocativeness even implied in that. But it is a step forward at least. Of course, I'm not sure the Chinese government wants to promote more Chinese people having sex and having babies, considering there's so many of them right now. Although they may run into the problem that Japan has, where their entire population is just getting older and older, and there's no new generation to exploit and replace them. TechRaptor has an article here: Xbox E3 2020 and Ubisoft going all digital after E3's cancellation. I imagine we'll just hear more and more of the same. Particularly the main presentations between Xbox. If Sony was going to do a presentation, that could have been all digital too. Ubisoft, I believe Bethesda has a main presentation. I don't think Activision Blizzard has a presentation at E3, so I wouldn't expect that. Devolver Digital really isn't a main presentation, but it was all digital effectively anyways. The PC Gamer stream, that going all digital would be a little weird, but I imagine PC Gamer will try and do something for E3, if it's not just a barrage of articles and interviews. The thing that's really different between PC Gamer's live stream and, say, the Microsoft live stream is Microsoft live stream was just people on stage giving a presentation, where PC Gamer was more about the indie developers and PC game developers coming and being interviewed. So you would, I imagine, just ask all of those PC game developers and indie developers to pre-record their own footage showing off their own games, and then you would just try to patch that all together and then have a host put a through line of connectivity between what would be just a string of advertisement videos. Game Sutra has their article here. The Nintendo Switch Joy-Con drift class action lawsuit is paused as the case moves to arbitration. No surprise there. It's not unheard of for judges to send cases to arbitration even a couple of times. I don't know if they can just constantly send it to arbitration. After about the second time, if they don't settle on an agreement, the judge knows they won't settle on an agreement. Komatsu has an article here. 3D Arena battle game Clash of Elementalist Burst announced for the Switch, which this looks like this is probably a low effort eShop game, if I was to guess. The animation here looks pretty simplistic, and it probably won't come to the West, but yeah, I'll mention it. Let's just start covering the news, and then we'll go back and look at games, because I think there probably is more news. Game Sutra has the same story. Microsoft, Ubisoft, and others move to replace E3 2020 with digital events. And there's a lot of speculation that the E3 may very well be dead forever. It's very possible that there won't be another E3. If that is the case, then the ESRB and the ESA have to make their money some other way. And they would get that from, I imagine, charging extremely higher fees to its members. Which they can't raise the price too much, or people, they'll lose the members. And then that's a problem too. So they probably would raise their fees to be a member of the ESA and raise the fees severely for a game to be rated by the ESRB. Perhaps so much so that they even convince Walmart and stores like that to hold on to sell games that aren't rated by the ESRB, which would be a weird twist of events. So there needs to be something, as far as the ESA is concerned, there needs to be something like E3 to make them most of their money annually. Remember, the ESA is a lobbyist group, and a lobbyist group won't work without money. And the video game industry won't work without a lobbyist group in the United States, because then you'll have a bunch of crazy old politicians blaming them for every social ill that exists. London, by the way, is proposing a law. This isn't video game related so much, but they're proposing a law to ban anonymous chat services and anonymous accounts in general, which would be insane. Just more Big Brother nanny state stuff. Speaking of Big Brother nanny state stuff, YouTube put out a creator blog on the update around the coronavirus. I think it mostly is centered around you will be demonetized, or at the very least you'll get this pop-up if you talk about the coronavirus, in the sense that they don't want people spreading misinformation, and they don't want to monetize people who are talking about tragedies unless they're the big news services like NBC, ABC, Fox News, and then they can make money off tragedies all day, every day. Let's see. Nippon Ichi Software announces an RPG Shoujo Jigoku no Doku Musume for PS4 and Switch. We may have already talked about this, but it seems to have an update. Yeah, this looks new. I don't recognize that art. Okay. That's more interesting than this alone. TechRaptor has an article here. Curse of the Dead Gods lays charmed foundations. This is probably an article teasing a new game that isn't out yet. Kind of looks like it is a trap laying Diablo-esque game. That might be interesting. Something like Orcs Must Die. Yeah, it's not out yet, so no real reason to get super hyped on it. Let's see. Here we have the E3's tweet directly. E3 team is devastated to share this news. Blah 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 blah, and then a image. It's talking about how they've canceled E3, which we already know has happened, so it's not really any reason to cover it. Gamasutra has the same article due to overwhelming coronavirus concerns. And I wouldn't be surprised if the next 5 or so articles I have is just the same stories over and over again. So I'm not going to even bother to talk about a story that we've already talked about. TechRaptor has a review for a game called Stella, which looks like a horror side-scrolling game. See what they thought. 6.0. When it all clicks together, Stella makes some beautiful platforming moments. When it doesn't, it's frustrating and obtuse. Pros are occasionally fantastic moments and amazing audio visuals. Cons are full of frustrating gotcha moments, inconsistent mechanics, and occasionally awkward animations. Ori and the Blind Forest has some inconsistent mechanics as far as whether you immediately die when you hit something, like well, there's like green water I'm running into all of a sudden that immediately kills you when you touch it. When I'd only dealt with blue water that you can swim in, and purple water that hurts you, I think, but doesn't instantly kill you. Maybe it did, but it was at the very beginning of the game, so I've totally forgotten that. But then there's also spikes that sometimes you hit the spikes and they damage you, sometimes you hit the spikes and they just kill you immediately. That might have more to do with me being fairly low on health almost always. Tech Raptor, moving on, has the article Tiny Metal, Full Metal Rumble, and Wargroove is crossing over. So, hype for a crossover between two games, I guess. Well, seems like two very weird games to cross over. Tech Raptor has an article here. Every confirmed companion for Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. The game, yes, Your Highness, or I think that's the name of it that recently came out a couple days ago. It's getting reviewed fairly well, but I think it is something that would kind of irritate me. I'd have to turn the audio off because it has this weird kind of Slavic Simlish language that they speak instead of just speaking English. And they say like one word, and then the one word turns into an entire sentence, which I find that irritating and unbelievable. So I imagine you get kind of bored with that. I've scrolled down that article, but I really don't care too much about that game. So there's just a collection of art, concept art of companions. But otherwise, I'd be kind of willing to play the game. It looks like it plays fine as a kind of choose your own adventure, reigns your majesty type game with a little bit more complexity to it. Next, Gematsu has an article. Blade Runner Enhanced Edition has been announced for the PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. The point-and-click adventure game remaster is due out in 2020. This is funny because they just got to the point where they were selling the old Blade Runner game and the Scum VM emulator was running it. It's weird also though that they're making a remake of this, of the 1997 game that you can get on Good Old Games. Because there's not like a new Blade Runner movie in development as far as I know. I don't think Harrison Ford is up to do another Blade Runner movie, and I don't think the Blade Runner sequel I don't think it did well enough to justify a third movie to make it a trilogy. So it's weird. My guess is that Night Dive Studio probably signed it due to Cyberpunk 2077. That would make sense. We probably are going to have several games that are just Cyberpunk games because people think Cyberpunk is going to be really popular due to that CD Projekt Red game, which they did come out and say that they are not going to start development of a new Witcher game until immediately after they release Cyberpunk 2077, which is weird because I would have thought they were already secretly in the pre-production phase of making the next Witcher game. It's silly to be only working on one thing at a time. Tech Raptor has that same article here with Nintendo decisively wins the patent dispute with Game Vice. This is what the Game Vice looks like. It's not even the same layout as the Joy-Cons because the Joy-Cons have on the right side a switch and then 4 buttons. that way, regardless of which controller you are holding. Now, on this side, I think they have the analog stick down here and the D-pad up there because they wanted. Well, I don't know how it is. No, I think it is. The 4 buttons are at top and the joystick is down over here. I'd have to look at Joy-Cons to even know. But the point is that you can turn the Joy-Con sideways and control them like an NES controller. But yeah, that at least shows you a picture of what they look like, snapped onto a phone. And yeah, I don't think there's going to be any successful patent lawsuits as far as controllers until somebody does something really crazy with controllers. Which there might be something out there to do, but I'm not sure what it would be. There probably wouldn't be a terrible concept if you had some kind of LiDAR or infrared detection of people's feet when holding a controller. So it's just looking at your feet. So you're sitting on so you could be sitting in a chair and potentially rock your foot forward and backward to play a driving game. That wouldn't be super interesting, but it would be something. I still think the best thing you could do for a controller is just put a mouse wheel on the side of one, and that way you can scroll through a long list of guns, which when playing games like Borderlands or Call of Duty or anything, just being able to select between more than maybe 8 guns at a time would be useful. Anyways, moving on. Call of Duty. TechRaptor has a article here. Call of Duty Warzone players have already found a game-breaking exploit, which does not speak well for Call of Duty Warzone. But I'm not really interested in Call of Duty Warzone, so I'm gonna move forward. Gamma Sutra has an article here. Overwatch lead writer Michael Chu moves on from Blizzard. So Activision Blizzard got a new COO from Google and lost the lead writer of Blizzard's Overwatch, which pretty much guarantees Overwatch is dead at that point. I wouldn't be surprised if he jumps over to Second Dinner. I wouldn't be surprised if most of Second Dinner ends up being former Blizzard employees. But as long as they're being somewhat careful in getting the good employees from Blizzard, that's not going to be a terrible thing. You got to be real careful when starting your own business, though, not hiring your friends and not treating your employees like your friends. You're in business to make money and make good products, not to have a frat house or a fraternity. Gamatsu has an article here. Tokyo Games to make an announcement for one of its studios for initially teased project on March 13th. So we have a tease for a tease there. Tokyo Games had 4 images they were showing, and that was about it. Oh, TechRaptor has the article about the Lego things. I didn't realize I had one of those. Lego teams up with Nintendo for Lego Super Mario. So here's the Lego Super Mario. Very Minecrafty, very bricky. His hat probably comes off and changes. And there's a screen right here in the red. His nose and mustache, I think, probably come off, and his ears probably come off, and these little buttons come off. His hands look like they are standard minifig size, but they may be actually rather thicker than that. And that's about it. Like, the Goomba here, clearly there's something about his feet that reads the Goombas when it's stepped on, and I think there's some reader in his hat when he hits a puzzle block. There's probably an NFC tag in the bottom of this this warp pipe, and this is like a standard looking Lego thing, where this looks like a custom Lego thing, and then these all pieces look pretty standard with stickers effectively for a flag and a sticker effectively for the side of the face. Mario himself looks very custom. But yeah, I think you probably start each level in a warp pipe and then with different sets, and this very well may be the default set. This may be all you get. You're supposed to build bigger levels, and I guess by the looks of it, there might be some programming and there might be another NFC tag in this base plate. Let's go ahead and just look. So, yeah, the hat, see the back there is a Bluetooth thing. It starts, and then there's a timer, and then when he steps on a Goomba's head, he gets a coin, and when he steps on another QR code like thing, he just stepped on that brick, so he didn't hit it with his hat. There may be some motion sensing inside the unit. His eyes move too, that's weird. So there's a Yoshi. Yeah, it's a weird set. It's a weird looking set, but kids may love it. Like, I could be totally wrong about it, but as an adult fan of Lego, it totally does not match anything. It is one of the Lego sets that if I was going to get something like that, there would be, it would end up on my shelf, not on my tables with the standard Lego City buildings, because it just does not connect at all. And it is very much a play set designed to be played with, not a display set designed to be built once and put on display. And I tend to prefer display sets. In all fairness though, I am looking over at a Lego Flintstones set I have, and like, despite the fact that I'm old enough to be nostalgic for the Flintstones, that was a pretty bad collab too, because most kids wouldn't really know the Flintstones, and they didn't really do anything else with that. That was a Lego Ideas set also, so they weren't ever going to do anything more with that. Moving on, TechCrafter has an article, Doom Eternal on Stadia doesn't run at native 4K. Just another nail in the coffin of Stadia. That it's worth mentioning though, it is news. Gamma Sutra has an article here, Discord loosens streaming limits to help teams work remote during COVID-19. So more users can now join individual screen share sessions using Discord, which I don't know why they were limited in the first place. They are upping it from 10 people to 50 people. I guess it was just a bandwidth limitation thing. That would be my only guess. But they're giving something there, and I wouldn't be surprised if they get a lot of pushback if they try and take it away, and they end up just forcing being forced to always give 50. But it's not like a lot of people are using Discord to stream or even screen share that much. I'm still not sure I wouldn't use Skype over Discord anyways. Gamatsu has an article here, Disaster Report 4 Summer Memories has a Choices trailer, and I'm still kind of hyped around the fact that this is coming to the West. It does seem like Disaster Report is going to mostly be a kind of Yakuza 3 type visual novel in 3D, game. It's going to be very story driven, which I'm not upset about. Gamma Sutra has an article, Join Disbelief is looking for a junior programmer in Chicago. I think I'm going to just be skipping the get a job subtitle. I'm tired of saying that phrase. This job is in Chicago, Illinois. It's kind of a repetitive way to list job listings. Gamma Sutra has an article, Activision Blizzard cancels the March and April Overwatch League events over COVID-19. Another cancellation, no big surprise there. This is going to be kind of sucky because this ranked draft is going to go away. And then I kind of need to do another ranked draft, but I don't want to do one off screen, so I guess we'll just have to wait. I did say we were going to go to the store and buy this now. So if we can get into the server, which apparently is an if, let's see. 20,000 gold. Nearly half my gold for these cards. We're gonna risk it. Actually not a bad deal at all. I did not realize we were gonna get 4 copies of everything. Although that does make sense. Also, we can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 cards on screen as a reward. And then you get a more button. Yeah. I guess I won't bother to really look at these cards, though I'm just kind of paranoidly being cautious here. So 4 more copies. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I like the artwork of the Elf Warrior. 4, 5, 6, 7. Did I get 4 copies of that even? 8, 9, 10. So 20 cards. So effectively I'm paying less than 1,000. I'm paying, yeah, I paid 1,000 gold for each, for 4 copies of each card. That's not bad at all. That's 250 a card. Let's just look in the store. Is there any point where we could get actual cards for 250? We could get a pack for 1,000, and a pack would give you potentially wild cards and give you about 6 cards. So you are paying more than buying an individual booster pack. But then skins tend to be, even when they're 83% off, tend to be 1,000. So that's not a better deal. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. There's 5 more cards that in this collection. So they are really just charging 1,000 for each card. This bundle would only sell you lands for 3,500. And I don't know why. I guess these hidden squirrel cards probably have a hidden squirrel somewhere in them. If I was to guess, there's probably a hidden squirrel in the top. I can't point to it, but directly above where my cursor is, that's probably a hidden squirrel. And then directly in the middle of the mountain, that's probably a hidden squirrel. Wouldn't be surprised if there's a hidden squirrel in each of them. That's about the only thing I could guess, is that there's a hidden squirrel in the lands. Avatars, 3,000 to get those. Occasionally those will go on sale. And then sleeves, go between 8,000 and 4,000, and often are gyms. And they're not selling the other pets anymore, which I'm fine with that. Alright. So I think that was a very reasonable purchase. Very expensive, but very reasonable purchase to ensure that we now have all the cards that you would want to play Historic for a while. And then we'll probably, now that we're kind of committed to this, have to spend 2,500 gold by the next 3 months or so. That would be my guess. But now I am just going to be short on gold. So I probably should do daily victories and try and get more gold. It would be a nice little excuse to slack off and do less pre-recorded footage, but I really don't have time for that. Alright, let's get back to covering the news. I don't think I'm going to be able to cover all these games, so what I'll do instead is we will I'll kind of curate it and then leave some for Monday, and I wouldn't be surprised if we don't have a lot of new news on Monday anyways. I do want to mention this Record of the Lotus War, or Record of the Lotus War, Deed Lit in Wonderland Labyrinth is listed here. Assuming this is a connected game to the Record of the Lotus War anime slash light novel. It might be a light novel in Japanese. Or, assuming these are connected, which it's being published by Playism, so I kind of think it is. This looks like kind of a Castlevania game. It's tagged as a Metroidvania game. It's on my following list. It's $11.99. English, Japanese, and Chinese. I think this one probably could just be promoted to the wish list. Like, it's already got enough reviews, so yeah. I keep ending up playing a lot of Metroidvania games, and there is an argument that I'm gonna burn out on Metroidvania games if I'm not careful. Komatsu has an article here for a side-scrolling adventure game called A Juggler's Tale that's coming to the PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and PC in 2021. It seems to me like you're playing a marionette puppet, though, not a juggler. Let's look at this trailer. It would be weird if you had a character that was juggling throughout the entirety of the game. Yeah, this is a marionette puppet. All the creatures are marionette puppets. So why is this not called a Puppeteer's Tale? Looks kind of like a Limbo-esque platformer otherwise, despite the name being wrong. I don't think there'd be too many jugglers out there that would also be interested in being a puppeteer. Like, those are two different expertise. Gamatsu is continuing to put out promo information for Boko Hime, the cross-dressing visual novel game. Seems like it's a big deal because I really was expecting this to be just a standard visual novel that got announced and then came out and then there was nothing else said about it, but they've got the first 27 minutes of gameplay on display here. They're really pushing it. It would be very weird if the visual novel where you have to cross-dress to find out what happened to your sister in the whole girl scroll turned out to be a huge success in Japan or in the West. Like, either one would be quite groundbreaking and interesting. Gamatsu also has an article for Sojo Jiko no Doku Musume teaser website being opened. I think we already covered this. And I'm getting some duplicate bits of information. Gamatsu has the Mistover Guilty Gear collaboration DLC Dr. Faust's Otherworld Adventure is now available. So, some Guilty Gear crossover happening. Guilty Gear, I believe, is a fighting game. I'm fairly certain. Yeah, from Arc System Works. We could. That doesn't look like a fighting game to me. That looks like a placement RPG. Jeez, am I totally wrong as far as Guilty Gear? Or I guess the game is Mistover that's having a collaboration with a character from Guilty Gear, which makes a lot more sense, frankly. It's smarter for a fighting game character to show up in a different kind of game than vice versa, although both work fairly well. Gamatsu has Genshin Impact PC and smartphone closed beta test beginning March 19th. This is that JRPG that we've kind of already seen. Looks real pretty, at least so far of what they're showing. Yeah, I don't know if there's really even going to be too many games to curate. I have tons of games, like way too many games, but I don't know how many I can curate away. Gamatsu has Zhang Yuan, no, it would be Zhao An Yuan, or something like that. Sword 8 launches for the PS4 and PC in 2020. Sounds like a Chinese action RPG, I guess. Do we have a video? What it looks like? Feels Chinese, but looks very polished too. Interesting. That does look interesting. Alright, well, I'm gonna make sure that this is on my fall list. Yeah, and it is a Chinese game, but it's a Chinese game that looks nicely polished, and I love when I see something like that, because nothing would make me happier if Chinese developers actually made good games instead of bad games. Nothing would make me happier if all developers made better games. Gamatsu has VVV Tunia's Emotional Overdrive details and special slots. More information about Neptunia games. It's not really surprising that Neptunia games would get a bunch of promo, though. There's enough of that series and they're popular enough that of course that would get hyped. Gamatsu has that article, New Witcher game to begin development after Cyberpunk 2077. Still think that's a mistake. They should be, at the very least, having the writer write the general ideas and concepts and writing up certain missions. You don't have to have any of the programmers working on it or any of the animators working on it, but the writer is not doing anything at the moment, I'm sure. TechRaptor has an article here, 2 Point Hospital Off the Grid DLC greens up the hospital business. It's surprising that any DLC is coming out for 2 Point Hospital. The game was severely overhyped when it came out about a year ago, and I'm shocked to hear anything new about it. It probably isn't a terrible game as a kind of reimagining of Theme Hospital, which apparently was super popular in the UK. But it was way overhyped and overpushed and just looked like a standard hospital management sim. Gamasutra has an article here. The development agency Amber snaps up Position Positron X developer, Scorpius Games. I've never heard of Positron X as a game though. Both are based in Romania, so a little too inside baseball for me. I don't even know if I'm going to make it to the Humble Bundle tab. I have so many tabs still open. Satisfactory Update 3 patch notes announces a Steam release, which I would have kind of assumed that Satisfactory was already on Steam. Another simulation game where you are running a factory and yeah, I might get around to playing Satisfactory, but I imagine not. Not really. I'll probably just put it off until it's no longer relevant. TechRaptor has an article. Final Fantasy XIV patch brings Kupo of Fortune and new quest. So they're still adding content to the online game Final Fantasy XIV, which no surprise there. I don't think Square Enix can afford to abandon 14 until they've just lost the vast majority of its player base, or they replace it with something else, which I don't think they can get away with that. Gamatsu has an article here. Adam's Venture Origins is coming to Switch. I don't know this game. It looks to me like it might be a platformer, a la something like Prince of Persia. No, it kind of looks more like a Tomb Raider game. Did this game come out on anything else? It was first launched for the PS4, Xbox One, and PC in 2016. Interesting. So that might be a gem that I'll have to look up and see if it's actually worth covering and worth putting on the wish list. Gamasutra has a job listing. Insomniac Games is looking for mid to senior engineer engine programmers in Burbank or Durham, North Carolina. I feel like some of these jobs just get repeated every week. Gamatsu has an article here. Super Mega Baseball 3 has been announced for the PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. I kind of feel like some of these tabs also I talked about on Wednesday. I can't remember though. Like I said, I've been sleeping so weirdly that I'll wake up and then go to sleep and wake up and go to sleep 2 or 3 times in a 24-hour period. Kamatsu has an article here. Monthly Koro Koro comic teases a new action game epic for the Switch that utilizes system to its very limit, which that's lacking in major details, so I can't really take anything from that statement. Gamatsu has an article. The Bit Summit, the 8th bit, was cancelled due to coronavirus concerns. I believe Bit Summit may have been the company that was the people in charge of running E3, but I think I'm wrong there. I think I Am 8-Bit is the name of the company that was the people kind of running E3. They were kind of like the executive producers of E3. Bit Summit just happens to have a similar name, and of course similar reasons why they're both canceled. Gamatsu has an article here. Little Buster's Converted Edition for Switch launches April 23rd in the West. I believe this is a visual novel of a baseball team. Let's see. I don't know what the Converted Edition means. Maybe it's it includes all the additional elements implemented in the romance visual novel thus far, including full voiceovers for not only the main characters but also the supporting characters. That's nice. Plus a portrait for the popular sub-character A-chan Senpai added in the PS Vita version, and a new event computer-generated graphics for certain scenes added in the Little Busters Perfect Edition for PC. Also features the ability to switch between English and Japanese at any time. A Busterpedia explaining Japanese culture terms in the games. Full touch screen support. Interesting. This game originally launched in 2009 on the PlayStation 2. So this probably is one of the top 10 visual novels out there. I could be wrong about the baseball part of it. Nope, there's baseball. I wasn't that wrong. I think there is a loose association that they're playing baseball, but that's hardly the main focus. If we look here for a moment, well, let's just scroll back up here. Also, the animation style, it would have been a little bit groundbreaking and a little bit modernized even in 2009. Yeah, that's typically not what I would expect from a 2009 product, so I don't know if the art maybe has been redone, but I doubt it. I'm gonna have to do some research and see what the Perfect Edition on PC looks like in comparison, but it doesn't sound like it would be a bad version. And so then that leaves me with about 40 or 50 tabs of games that just came out for Steam, and I just don't want to cover them. We are probably just going to have shorter streams for Magic going forward, and I'm just going to have things left over every stream. As long as I'm having trouble streaming and not being in pain, I don't see any reason to push myself and hurt myself. So yeah, that brings me to the Humble Bundle. We have a Just Drive bundle. If you pay $1 more, you get WRC7 MXGP. I don't think this game is very good. Yeah, it's not even telling. And MotoGP 15. None of those are really recognizable. If you pay more than the average of $8.19, you get Road Redemption, Project Cars. Dirt 4 is probably worth $8.19, although Dirt 4 I don't think was even as good as Dirt 3. And then they do have the Codemasters garbage, in which you really can't buy Dirt 3 anymore. And then $13 or more gets you NASCAR Heat 4, Project Cars 4, and some DLC for certain skins. So if you like racing games, maybe it's worth the $13. Maybe it's worth the $8.19. I'm not sure it's worth either, though I'm not deep enough into racing games to be able to tell you if those are the good ones or not. Otherwise, as far as Humble Bundles, we don't have anything. There's the Sakura collection still. And so then that's just going to bring me back to my Twitter account, and let's just look on Twitter. Twitch support is currently investigating an issue preventing people from signing into a Twitch account. So apparently they're still working on that. There's a workaround where you can manually enter your stream key. It's affecting OBS and XSplit and pretty much everybody that uses the API. That blockchain streaming service LBRY library, it does seem like I was able to transfer. I hate that they're using the phrase transfer because it makes it seem like they're taking my videos off of YouTube and removing them from view from YouTube, which I don't believe they're doing. I would be very upset if YouTube let them delete videos off that service. But yeah, they're kind of duplicating the last 1,000 videos that aren't 2 hours long, which is a decent chunk of my videos, and just puts my videos in one more place where I doubt very many people will watch them, but heck, you might as well try. But yeah, that seems to have worked, whereas BitChute, I don't think that ever did work. I'll have to go back and check it. EGX Resd has been postponed until summer due to COVID-19 pandemic. They're calling it a pandemic officially now. You could have called it a pandemic a week ago and it would have meant the exact same thing. Reporters Without Borders create Minecraft anti-censorship library. That's an interesting article. We'll talk about that on Monday. Borderlands 3 is now live on Steam. I still say boycott it for the first 6 months, so that we're outside their secondary launch window, and they really suffer from doing that Epic Store exclusive. Like, it would be dangerous, but it probably would be the best case scenario if 2K owns the Borderlands IP. If 2K took the Borderlands intellectual property out of the hands of Gearbox and handed it to somebody else just because of Borderlands 3 not selling as well as they would like, and because of all the craziness of surrounding Randy Pitchford, that would be very, very bad for Gearbox. But I don't think anything saves Gearbox since it's a private company owned by Randy Pitchford. Game of Sutra has an article here. Crunching devs share the human cost of development at Naughty Dog. Apparently, people working on Last of Us 2 are being forced to work so much hours that they don't even want to see Last of Us 2 succeed at this point. They've been upset so much by their employer's abuse. Platinum Games is developing an in-house Platinum engine, which, okay, that might be... No, that's a bad idea. Individual single-party engines are a bad idea. Nier 10th anniversary livestream is set for March 29th, so we may not get a direct sequel to Nier Automata. We may get a game that's a sequel to the Nier series. Epic Games acquires the facial animation studio Cubic Motion. Choco Games announced an original TV anime called Akudama Drive. We'll show that off on Monday. Let's see. BAFTA opts for online-only Game Awards as COVID-19 concerns grow. Interesting. Game of Sutra's promoting NeoCab, another game that was overhyped and then immediately forgotten once it came out and people saw that it was at best mediocre. Alright, and that's it as far as new things that came out on Twitter. Now, even that was quite a lot extra. Alright, so that's going to be it for this stream. Hopefully Magic the Gathering will correct their app and we won't have to just play background music over and over again for several hours. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.